Welcome. We're going to talk about building dashboards. I'm going to show you a lot of examples of what dashboards could do for you. There's a lot of power just in our base jump to generate those, to share those, and you can even go further in how you want to share those with things like Jump Live. But we'll get a good taste of what they can do for us, and also kind of what are the step-by-step instructions for creating them. So we're going to cover today basically sharing and communicating results, but I put a little silver star down by the data exploration and visualization process step at the very bottom, because all those things that we can do to make pictures within Jump, make reports, as we like to call them, are definitely what we're going to organize to make the dashboard. And this can include filters as well. And then, of course, how do you want to share it? And so there's definitely some static ways we can share it. There's some more interactive ways we can share it. So all those outputs will be of interest. So at this section, I just want to show you some dashboards in action. All these have been created in Jump. The first one I'm going to show you actually is coming from my peer, Jed. I'll let Jed introduce himself. And Jed, I will let you share your adventure personal dashboard.
So full disclosure here, Scott and I were talking this morning, and my full disclosure here is that I've been a Jump user for like 18 years, and I went down the rabbit hole of learning how to script. And so this script right here comes naturally to me after lots and lots of labor. But this morning, Scott and I were talking about dashboards, and so I wrote this in scripting originally, and then just this morning, it took me about 5 minutes is all, I added a non-scripting version to the dashboard. So I'm going to run this script, and you'll see a little thing, and I scripted this series of buttons, but this right here I didn't script. And this is just basically, I'm kind of smitten by the adventure bug, and I like to go out and bike just about anywhere and everywhere that I can throughout the Intermountain West. And here's just a dashboard that I use kind of to see how I'm doing. And each year I want to do a little bit better than I've been doing in the past. So you can see that this year has been really, really bad for me in terms of elevation gain. But if we're looking at just time and distance, I'm doing all right. I live in Utah, by the way, and if you know what the snow has been this year, that's probably why I'm not here. I'm not super high on my altitude, because it's been hard to get up into the mountains with my mountain bike. But anyway, just a simple dashboard that I use very often to see, you know, what trails am I hitting the most? What are my favorite places? And that is that dashboard. Scott, did you have any questions on this?
No, there's some features here that we're going to cover. He's got a column switcher, which is a type of filter that's on the side of one of the graphs. So it looks like you can change one of your column axes. I guess is the right word to use, where you want distance or time. And then all these graphs are interactive. He can hover over bars. He can click on shapes, and it will highlight in others. And he's got a local data filter on the last one. He can restrict the years and the activity type. And this is the idea behind dashboards. It's really not just to have something static for pictures, and you're forced to use my settings that I created. It actually lets you explore, and that's the whole idea behind Jump, as well as what I think a good dashboard is.
Yeah, and this dashboard took me 5 minutes to make. Most of that time was just building the graphs, which is pretty quick. And then I just basically said, hey, make a dashboard from these graphs, and it was done.
So I'll go ahead and get us back, and let me show you a couple of other dashboards. Often from something many of us had to do when we were in labs, or we were in factories, or we had incoming process data or service data coming in, is you wanted to have dashboards that were kind of used for control, right? You know, what's going on, what's happening with my warranty, what's happening with my product, what's happening, you know, with my batch assays, you know, in my reactor, all these type of ways. So Jump has seriously good process screening and quality tools. and they can be used in a dashboard as well. And so this is one that one of our peers, Christian Stopp, out in the East Coast came up with. And I've just clicked here. I've just clicked here on a link, and this is the public version of Jump Live, and it's a place we can share things like dashboards interactively. And here's one where he's got lens production. I think he did this for a customer that was making like contact lenses, and he was looking at several different aspects of the area that's coming up. And so like he's got one here for manufacturing stability and capability. I can see it's got control charts. I can see it has process capability. You see these little points that have the little red dot. Well, those are control chart deviations, right? These are warnings that this point has gotten beyond an upper control limit. So what's kind of cool about this is not only does he have laid out in tabs just where I might want to go to see what's going on with my data, but he has the ability here to include warnings. So like something like a control chart where if a point gets beyond a control limit, I want to be alerted because I need to go out to the process and do something about it. It can send me an email. It can give me a warning. It can give me a visual warning, or it can give me a physical warning, which is pretty cool. The other cool thing about this one is you can as well in these Jump Live systems, instead of me having to open up my Jump and pull in the latest data, rerun the dashboard, you can set up a schedule by which, okay, hey, you know what, republish every morning and bring in the latest data. So this is an example in Jump Public of doing these lens dashboards here of this one. And what's also pretty cool, if I go back to that lens, we go back and we regenerate it. Maybe I'll go back to the main one here. I can share this with you. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to go into the chat. I'm going to paste it in here. And now I put in a link to this spot, and anybody with a browser can go on. This is public. This is a place where you can see. Again, we set up a lot of our customers with private versions of these. This is called, Jump Live, but this Jump Public one's just some place for us to play with data, and you can go out and check this one out. Now, I'm going to work towards something a little more of a typical dashboard that I used to use when I was a process engineer and design engineer, actually supporting scale up, supporting live production, as well as recently when I did some data science work. And we're doing data science dashboards for an executive VP at SAS. So I'm going to show you what those look like. And I got an example here. This is a fun example. It was just looking at the box office performance of a bunch of movies out there, and they wanted to make a dashboard to help them pick the next winner. And so this data that you're seeing here, this is just data within Jump. For those new to Jump, right? Jump structure data, like pretty much all database data is. So all my columns are parameters of interest, like the title of the movie and the type and the rating, the year, the dollars, the director. And every row here is a observation, is a sample size, right? Is a, movie in this case. And so I've got 244 of these movies. And there's a great mastering on building graphs and building dashboarders. Just know it's as easy to start out as going to graph builder, and you can just start to make the view that you want to see, like domestic by rating, and give me a bar chart on this. And I want to see the sum, and I want it broken out by the type or overlaid by the type, Maybe I want to see it stacked by the type. So these are just things I'm doing to make this graph builder. Okay, now the beauty of this is there's something new that got added into JMP. And what that is, so I'm going to say done here. I've got this data in this graph open. There's something new within JMP 17, and this is a reason we think you should bump up to JMP 17 if you're using JMP 16 or 15 or even a lighter version. You have that ability to upgrade in your license. This one came out in September, and it came up with a new kind of like macro recorder. So everything you do in JMP can be saved. There's an underlying JMP script, and as Jed said, he actually does his own custom scripting, but he saves a lot of his scripts just from what JMP can do, and it will save it into a workflow builder, which is kind of cool. You can turn a recorder on and capture what you're doing, or you can as well just save what you've clicked on to the workflow. And you see here is one. And if I show what the setting is, here's the JMP script. It says what data table it does. It says, okay, it built this graph. It did this type of stack graph. I don't have to know anything about the coding. It's got it in there. And I can do several of these, and it will stack them on top of each other, and it will let me go and rerun it at any time. So I can just rerun the graph and build a script. And that is a way of building a dashboard. So I've actually done that with this data. In fact, I even asked it to open the data set up, so I don't even have to start with it open. I want to go and get the latest and greatest. I'm going to click on this workflow builder that I created, and you see it brought it up, and here's all my steps. I open it up, I do several reports, I add a filter, and I build a dashboard. And these are kind of the steps I'm going to show you how to do in a working example, but watch what happens when I say, okay, do it. Boom, 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 sets them all up. All right, and there it finishes with my dashboard. Now I have an interactive dashboard, and this interactive dashboard has filters, and I can change the views here. I can change the year, I can change the rating. I start here with my overall rating and type of rating to see my worldwide dollars, like PG-13 dramas are good. I can see what those look like over time on this little line chart. I can come down here and see what's going on with these box plots where I'm looking at the type and just kind of comparing side by side with ratings. And then I get a little table down here. A lot of times my executives like to end with a physical table of what they're seeing. So I've got kind of a flow on this, and I have controls on this. And just like we showed you with the Lens database, I'm going to close this workflow, and I'll close up on these here, get rid of all these. I've got this one available to us in JMP Public as well. So instead of me just copying and pasting, or me sending you maybe a scripting button, if you also have script, I can use that JMP Public, and I can give it to anybody that has a browser. So again, there's a lot of ways to share, but this is the kind of dashboard I'm going to teach you over the next 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to show you how we can make this kind of dashboard from scratch. I am going to first talk to you about what I consider to be a good dashboard. Really, what should we care about? Number one, it should have a purpose. It's not just to do something that looks pretty, right? Or to wow somebody that, you know, oh, I'm really on top of my process. Here's all these pretty graphs, right? It has an end in mind. Even Jed's had an end in mind, because he's probably going to use that to figure out where he goes and takes his next vacation to go and hit a trail, right? So it has a purpose. And generally, we orient things in a way that it's going to tell a story. So we want it to be compelling, allow for the right amount of drill down, allow for that next level of question to be answered or be asked. And then, of course, it should be easily shared. And you already saw us sharing some things just with a browser link to you, which are pretty fun. All right. Now, layouts. And this is generally what I see. Sometimes for folks that do a lot of dashboards, you will see a header page, which basically kind of tells you what are the major findings and gives you any navigation instructions. And then you're going to have one or more tabs of the body. And it's going to be a mix of multi-image pages, graphs and tables. That's kind of what you saw from Christian's lens production dashboard. He had several tabs of graphs and tables open, or you're going to see a layout where it might be something like a 4-up. And this is generally what I like to do because we're kind of used to looking at information this way. We tend to go from left to right and top to bottom. And so I kind of like to do that and even add a filter into it on the side to allow you to create many different views that you have on that dashboard. And then generally, as you'll sometimes see another page at the very end, which basically, shows who's guilty of doing the dashboard, but where the data comes from, where you can get more links, where you can ask for things to go happen on the dashboard. And that's always a good thing to have. People ask, okay, where'd you get the data? Is this the most updated data? Oh, yes, it gets generated every day, at this time from this database. So you can put that information in. I'm going to be talking to you about generating this body, but this is typical of what you might see laid out. All right, so we're doing good on time. Let's go in and look at a working case. Okay, so I've got some data. So I've essentially picked something which I think probably none of us are doing here. So we got a little bit of interest. And I don't get into trouble, but just imagine, I could imagine doing this in this post-pandemic side. There's more stores closing in my hometown than you can shake a stick at. But let's say we're online store, that'd be the thing to have, right? And we're going to do the online sporting goods, or we're going to be Amazon's or eBay or some other retailers, Alibaba's sporting good page, right? And we're getting data back on what people are ordering. So I want to be able to answer some questions. And here we kind of painted them out. We said, what is the best average profit per unit per product line category? Okay, that is the first thing we're going to get asked, the first thing we want to show. Second thing is, what is the trend of the total profit by week by product line? All right, that one's pretty good. Next one is which state. Obviously, we got state data in here. We're selling across the USA. So what state has the highest average total profitable customers? That would be nice to know. And then the last thing we want to answer, what are the product line categories shipped to, lead time, and out of stock metrics? And that sounds like something they probably want to see in a table. So we are going to make that data happen. Okay. Now, for those that are new to JMP, JMP has a lot of tools which can help you. One of the biggest tools that can help you is I brought up this original sporting good retail data. I've got 2,440 rows. Every one's a purchase, which is pretty cool. And I can click up here. There's a little thing right on your data tables. There's a little header graph right up here in the very top corner, top left corner of your data table. I click on that and I get these header graphs, and that's kind of helpful. I can see every street ID is might be pretty unique, but I've got these states. Looks like I got California all the way through Montana. I got city, latitude, longitude. I've got customers. Some customers bought more than once. I've got customer status. And this kind of is better than looking at a table, right? I'm kind of seeing what's going on with this data, quantity ordered here. I got product lines and product categories. I can even go back to my suppliers. So, and then I've of course got profitability, got profit per unit, cost per unit. All this is really, really, really cool. Now, sometimes you get your data, but you find out it's not the most up-to-date data. Like Jed saw this one and he said, hey, Scott, you've got all these states here, but you don't have the state I care about, he says, I'm going to do some trail walking up in Washington or trail riding up in Washington State. Where's the Washington data? And lo and behold, my Washington data came in separately. So I have this other set of data with this set of data here. Can I join them together? Can I link them? Do those type of things? You can. They're all in your tables command. And this one, I believe, would just be a raw concatenates here. And I can take my original data table and I can concatenate it with this new one as long as my columns are similar. And now I've got my, total data. Gives me a little preview of what I'm going to see. And I'm just going to say, okay. And now I've got this total data. And if I keep looking through here, it added the Washington to the bottom. So I'm not going to talk a lot more about other ways of doing table manipulations. You can join different data to other data tables. If you have a key, you can do virtual joins. You can do a lot of this stuff straight out of the database with the query builder, or after you get it into JMP with the JMP version of the query builder. There's just a lot you can do here, but just know that's available. And I'm not wanting to say, oh, it's as easy as just pulling up data and diving in. A lot of times we spend a lot of time cleaning our data, looking for missing data, removing miscodes, recoding the data, and getting it in shape. But I just wanted to throw that out for the new people and to say, and 80% of your time might be spent preparing the data. Okay. But I'm going to bring up my finished data. Okay. Now I've got my finished data here. It has all the state's information that you could want. I've got a lot of information that I want to bring to bear. Now, what you can see up here is I've already saved some graphs. I'll show you just how to make one or two of these graphs, and then we'll talk more about the dashboarding. Again, we have separate videos to show you everything you want to know about things like using the graph builder. But if I go up right now and I look at like the first question I had, this question had to deal with what is the best average profit per unit by product line category? Okay, well, I'm going to go pull up my graph builder. Here is my graph builder. I have all this data available to me, all this customer info, order info. These are just the columns of data that I have. And I would like to see the average profit per unit. Hey, well, there's the profit per unit. I'm assuming I'm going to put that here somewhere. And in graph builder, you just throw it into wherever you want, throw it on the left-hand axis, see what happens. This is the left-hand y-axis, put it on the x. You can try different views. It will highlight in bold what types of graphs are available to you, and then it will shade in the one you have active. So you can use this little clicker panel up here. You can also right-click into the graph and actually change them via a menu if you care to do that. This is pretty easy. Let's see what else I want. Product line by product category. Well, I think that has probably in the product info anywhere. Here's product line. I can put the product line right down here. Again, I can switch off to like bars here. But it also wants product category. You can actually nest things. So I could bring in here and I can say, well, there's product category and product line. Just buyer's product line and product category. And so basically I can kind of get different views this way. Again, you can switch off the points, just all types of different things you can do. I can do a different type of chart, Lo. I have a chart here that's called a heat map that draws little graphs and it's showing me what's hot. I can see clothes. Clothes within the clothes and shoes product line is very hot and is doing very, very well. So that's pretty cool. I can, and it's got the highest count right now. If I don't want the count, I can do maybe profit per unit. Again, maybe color by the profit per unit. So the most valuable one here is indoor sports, in the sports category. So I can see this one. I don't know about this one. How about this one here? How about doing a tree map? So this one here has got a box by the counts, but it's shaded by the profit per unit. And because I had a nesting relationship, I have the big box for sports, and you can see the individual box. And I like this one, and I can hover over it and I can see what's coming on this. So this one is a really nice chart. So I can say done here. I can give these things really cool names so people will open them up. Tree map of doom. I'm going to do my average profit over here, product line. And now people can hover over them and they can see the mean average profit per unit. That one works real well. Now, I've generated a report in JMP. This is great. I want to get this to Jed. I right click, I save my script for this graph into to the data table. Jed, you owe me. He won't open this unless he thinks he owes me money. He's out there. Let's see. Well, you're not in San Francisco. I'll cut it down. You're only near Salt Lake. I'll cut it down to $150. There we go. So you owe me $150. You can see where it added it. Added it right here. I'll go delete this one. But you see, I saved myself that same graph right up here already in my data table. There's the first question I answered. Here's the second. Here's the third. Here's the fourth. So if you'll allow me, I'm just going to open up all four of them at once. And now I've got my four charts opened up. What did I do? Well, the first one that I looked at was the same one you just saw me do. This one answered our first question, and I thought that was the best view. This was the second one that I saw. This one answered my second view. I think this was total profit over time. Okay, now I've got these two open, which is pretty cool. Here's the third one down here. Oh, it did a little map. Okay, well, JMP comes built in with recognizing if you put a column in of counties or states, you know, it has maps. It has built-in maps as well. If you put in X, Y coordinates, you can even bring in custom maps, satellite maps. But I can see I've got my highest average total profit here, and then I've got my product line. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we could put all these together? I don't want you to have to open up each one individually. Dashboard has flow, and now I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 flow. Well, what I might be able to do is go right now under my windows and just say combine windows. So this is a dashboard shortcut that a lot of people don't know about. And I've got the data table open, and I've got these four things. If you don't know what they are, you just click on them, you get a little thumbnail here on the side. And I can combine some of these. Well, I want to combine these four. And I'll call this my combine window shortcuts. And I'll go ahead and say, okay. And you see it popped up and it put it into a perfect four-way grid. That's what that dashboard does. There's another cool thing that dashboard will do. If I go back to it, and I go back to my combined windows, I'll just do the first three here. But you see there's one that says filter by. I'm going to click it on this tree map. In other words, I want my selections in this graph to filter the other graphs. So we'll call that one combo window with filter by. I'll say okay. Now this one, put up all three. And by the way, I can grab these and I could have moved this one, dock this one over to the right. You can see you can further dock things where they might want to go. You just kind of drag them and take care of them. And actually, I'll just kill that one. So this is big on our screen. But watch what happens when I hit winter sports. Do you see my selections? Which are these boxes I have selecting is controlling that one on that side? Yeah, there you go. That's got to be worth the price of admission right there. So that's actually filtering by a graph. And this is a dashboard. You can see it's in a dashboard format. If I go under the red hotspot, I can save the script for this dashboard, and it will present this dashboard for me. Or I can edit it. And if I click edit, it will take me into, after I tell it to make sure it knows which data table it is, it'll take me into a dashboard creator window where I can drag and drop these graphs into this phase. And you see there's other options. I can put filters, I can bring in pictures. There's quite a bit I can do. So I'm going to close this down. I've got my 4 graphs, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'll show you where you can go if you just want to go from here and not use that shortcut to launch into the dash builder, templates. All you have to do is go file, and you're going to go new, and you're going to go new dashboard. And that should, and now I can see all the templates. I generally work from a blank, but if you know you want a 2x2, you know you want a 3x2, you know the first thing you want is a filter and then one graph. You can select these, or you can do your own. So I've got some saved for me, a 6 quality graphs dashboard. But I'm just going to do a blank one. And this one's just kind of a drag and drop creator. And you decide what you want where. I drag that one in here. I drag that one onto the side of 2. I drag that one into below a number 3. Do I want this one to be on the side of that one? Now I've got kind of a 4-up kind of view. You can mess with the spacing of them. Something else you can do here, I'm going to add this local, I'm going to add a local data filter, and I'm going to drag it onto the side here. And now I'm going to have a little local data filter that's just going to filter what's going in these graphs. So I made a mistake on that one, so I'll close out on that one. All right, so I have a filter. I've got dashboard, and the products. If I go and I run the dashboard, and I give it a second, and it's doing its best to orient everything around here. Now I can see what it's going to look like. I can further try to customize it. I only want to see certain product lines. And now I've got this one up, and I can filter, and it will filter this. I just want to see sports. Now I'll just see sports. So now you have a side filter that's enabling these things to happen. So that's building via the dashboard templates. If you like what you're doing at any time, you can save this script to your data table. I kind of like saving it interactively. So I either export it as interactive HTML5, or I save it to my data table. And you can close this down. Close all these up. Now I got my data table because Jed's got jumped to. Now he sees it. Now he can go and he can work with me. The other thing about filters, it leaves you where your filter settings were. So that's kind of cool too if you wanted to point out a certain type of combination that they wanted to see. But this is a nice dashboard that answers all our questions. And if I want to go further and I want to actually make this interactive, so for the folks that use some sort of presentation software, but we have our own, of course, that is Jump Live, and I have the Jump Public version. I would launch this into Jump Public. Now, it's opened up the server, and our instance of the server, and it is asking if I want to publish new or publish something else. What do you want to publish? You can set it within a folder. You know, I've got several folders, or my main folder I can select. You can bring in images, you know, like I want to bring in this sporting good logo, and I want this to be the first thing, you know, look at me first. All right, and I want that to go first. And, you know, and I can give little instructions. And now I can go and I can physically publish this out to this public area of Jump Live. So again, this is kind of how you can share it with presentation software. And now you can go and you can play with the filters, and you can get down to that sports only view, and you can highlight the line and, you know, highlight estates and do those type of things. So that's ways you can share it. This to me is the ultimate way, because I'm sharing this with people over a browser who don't have to have Jump underneath the hood, and maybe you're never going to create things in Jump but want to consume it. But just having the ability to even save it to a data table and make that a one button script where I can just click, I can send you the file, it's in the file, you can click it. And by the way, if you go look at the script window for what generates this, I could just send you the script, because this script, it looks really nasty, it's really large, but you know, a lot of this it's just launching the graphs, pulling up my data if I want it to, launching the graphs, and just orienting them where they belong. That's all it's doing, and it does it for me. So it will, every time I click that green, you know, arrow, it will launch this and get it just the way I want to see it, so I can interact with it. So that's a way of sharing the dashboard, you know, and saving out the script, saving it out to your data table, or saving it as interactive HTML5 if you can trust sending interactive HTML5 files, or can save it back to your data table, or better, you know, export it to presentation software like Jump Live. I will double check, make sure we covered all the learning points, and I think we did. I think we figured out how to set these up. I think we ended how to add more things like images and filters. I think we figured out as well all the different ways we could share it. And we will leave you behind with where to learn more in your follow-up email, so you can get the just-in-time learning. Or, as Gail said, you can see the video recording of this type of dashboard mastering as well.